In this session, we are mainly talking about the amendment system. We already know that what is amendment. It is a process of editing the Indian Constitution. You know what? Based on the time, we need to change all the matters which is already written in the parliament. The process of editing of the parliament or changing the parliament points is through a process called amendment. And this concept of amendment was borrowed from the African Constitution, South African Constitution. So the article associated with the amendment in Indian Constitution is Article 368. So let's start with this amendment. So we have a procedure for amendment. So what is the main important procedure? So as we all know, our Indian Constitution is called as flexible and rigid. So what is the word meaning flexible and what is the word meaning rigid? So our Indian Parliament at the same time it is flexible and at the same time it is rigid too. The point is very simple. Some provisions in the Indian Parliament is easy to change, but some provisions in the Indian Parliament is difficult to change. So some amendments are difficult and some amendments are very easy. So that's why we are calling that our Indian Constitution is a combination of easy amendment and complex amendment. So that's why we call it as both flexible and rigid. So contains many provisions to be modified, add, delete or change. So the amendment bill may be initiated in either house of the parliament, that is Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. You can start initiating the amendment procedure. And there are two types of categories for amending. So based on two categories, the first one, if you talk about, the procedure is different in the first case. In first case, a majority more than 50% of the total membership of the house must be present on the day of voting. And out of those present and voting, at least 2/3 must vote for the bill. The point is simple. Most of the amendment in the Indian government, Indian Constitution is done through this procedure. That means 50% of the attendance, and out of that 50%, 2/3 of the present and voting will support the process of amendment. Then we can amend it. This is the common amendment procedure. But in some other categories, like this. So in some other categories, for changing the manner of presidential election, for changing the executive powers of union and state, for Supreme Court and High Court points, for distribution of legislative power between union and the states, or representation of states in the parliament. So if we consider these 5 points and we want to change these 5 points related to the Indian Constitution, then we need some different type of procedure of amendment. So for these 5 points, we need a procedure of amendment like this. In these cases, we need to have it ratified by at least 50% of the state legislature before the bill goes to the presidential assent. That means in the case of these 5 points, you need support from the state level legislature. So that means you need the support of MPs from the parliament and also MLAs from the state level. So most of the state MLAs are supporting your amendment procedure. Then only you can change any of the matters regarding to that ABCDE points. So that's why this one is a different procedure comparing to the common amendment procedure what we discussed in the category 1. So category 1 and category 2 is different. And in this second case, that means the category 2, the president cannot refuse the assent to the constitution amendment bill as is the provision in case of ordinary bills. And remember one more point, president not competent to veto any amendment bill present to him for assent. That means he cannot reject it. Okay. So these are the main two types of amendment bill or the procedure in India. First one, common procedure for common things, ordinary matters related to the Constitution of India. But second one is special cases, that is ABCDE mentioned above in the slide. Those need special type of. So that means some cases you have a flexible amendment procedure, some is rigid amendment procedure. So I think you are very clear about it. And one more important point, tips for this amendment bill. States in India cannot initiate any bill for constitutional amendment. And the second one, there is nothing like joint sitting. You know that joint sitting is between the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha in the case of any deadlock and to resolve it. So in the case of amendment deadlock, joint sitting of the houses to resolve the deadlock between is not applicable. So this is the highlight of Indian Constitutional Amendment Act. So I am mentioning some of the important Constitutional Amendment Act. The first one, that is in 1951 Constitutional Amendment Act, that is restriction imposed on right to speech and expression. Then comes the 24th Amendment Act, education shifted to the concurrent list. Parliament has the power to amend any part of the constitution. Then 35th one, that is 1975, Sikkim made as the state, associate state of India, and in 75 one more amendment, 36th one, so Sikkim became a full state. 42nd Amendment Act 1976 itself is also called as a mini constitution, where in that one we even changed the preamble by adding some words socialist and secular. And also DPSP we changed, and DPSP was given priority over fundamental rights. And fundamental duties was also added in the 42nd Amendment. Then 44th, right to property abolished. And 61st is a very important amendment happened in 1989, where the voting age lowered from 21 to 18. And 73 and 74 amendments in 1993 is about the local self-government, that is Panchayat Raj and urban local bodies, or ULB. 84th Constitutional Amendment in 1999 is the Amendment Act, very important for the Women's Reservation Bill. And 93rd Amendment Act to 2002, education made a fundamental right. And the last one, 97th one, that has happened 2012, is talking about the cooperative societies after the word or union in the Article 19(1)(c), and the insertion of the Article 43(b), that is a promotion of cooperative societies, and added part 9(b), that is the cooperative societies. Okay, so cooperative societies are like self-help groups for the development and welfare of the rural India. So these are the main Constitutional Amendment Act that is important for our exams. Just make your own notes associated with these amendments.